What happens when the person everyone looks to for strength starts to feel empty on the inside? When you're the leader, the mentor, the one holding it all together, who do you turn to when you start to burn out? Well, listen, today we're talking about the quiet struggle that too many leaders hide behind their success. We're talking about leading while feeling empty. Come on, let's get into it. Welcome to Transformation Station, the place where we talk about leadership with heart, not just titles and results, but the real, raw, human side of leading. I'm Adrienne Benton, your host, and in today's episode, we're diving into something we rarely admit out loud. That's right. We're talking about what it feels like to keep leading when your energy, your purpose, or your joy starts to share. Maybe you've been there. You're showing up for everyone else, meeting expectations, hitting the goals, and yet something feels like it's missing. Well, my guest today, Dr. Naeema, has lived this tension firsthand. And together in this podcast episode, we're going to explore how leaders can recognize emptiness, find renewal, and lead from a place of wholeness again. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Naeema. Well, Dr. Naeema doesn't just inspire change, she builds it. And after a decade as a chiropractor, a cycling accident led to her radically reinventing her life. She closed her practice, traveled solo to 13 countries. I love this, and founded Every Damn Thing LLC to help women over 40 reclaim their power. Now, a reinvention coach, speaker, and author of Raised as a Lie, Dr. Naeema empowers high achieving women to rise from burnout, break generational patterns, and thrive with purpose. Transformation Station community. Come on now, help me to welcome Dr. Naeema. Dr. Naeema, we're so glad you're with us today. Welcome to Transformation Station.
I would just like to say, if you can just ride around on my shoulder, not even in my pocket, just on my shoulder, you are the most amazing hype woman. I am so excited to be here. What great energy.
Thank you. Well, listen, I'm really excited to have this conversation today because Dr. Naeema, something that's been coming up a lot lately, especially in conversations with leaders, is this quiet sense of loneliness. Like Dr. Naeema, not the kind of loneliness that comes from simply being alone in a room, but I'm talking about the kind of loneliness that happens when you're surrounded by people, meetings, and constant noise, but there's this unspoken pressure to be composed, to have all the answers, but you feel like you are not connecting. You're pouring out, but nobody's checking on you and pouring in. So I want to start off by asking you this question. Dr. Naeema, society often equates success with happiness, but what do you think we're getting wrong about that kind of connection and how did it shape, how does belief shape how does that belief shape or distort our journey? How are we getting it wrong when we equate success with happiness?
Mm, that is such a great question because the profoundness that rides underneath that question really is this sense of that happiness is the goal, when
Mm,
the truth is that we are a myriad of emotions, and
mhm,
all of the emotions and states of being are part of our human experience. And to the degree that we spend time in this sort of aversion to some, but then clinging to others, I think that we set ourselves up for this sort of downward spiral, this idea that we are going to be chasing like hamsters on a wheel. We are forever seeking. And what we miss is the present right here in this moment. And
mm,
Buddhism philosophies teach us that the idea of clinging to something or having an aversion to other things is this idea that you aren't right here in this moment, seeing everything as it is and being accepting of all things. So when we're
Mm,
chasing after success, because we believe that that's what's going to bring us happiness. The truth
mhm,
is that we already have happiness within, but we also have sadness within. And
mm,
because we are these complex human beings as opposed to human doings, the present moment beingness, being right here with this breath, this moment, looking around at any given moment and recognizing the abundance and the prosperity and the love and the happiness and the joy and the beauty. All things are existing in this moment. And if
mm,
belief is that if you can just take but a moment, take a deep breath,
mhm,
recenter yourself, refocus yourself in all of my needs are met in this moment, whatever that looks like. Because here's the truth: your food is digesting. You're not
mm,
thinking about it. Your body is metabolizing the foods that you consumed. It's creating bone and sinew. Your spleen is going and gathering up old red blood cells and taking them to your lymphatic system so that goes away, and your liver is creating new. Are we thinking about any of these processes? No. Are we in control of any of them? Absolutely not. Thank goodness that when we go to sleep, we don't have to tell our heart, like, hey, I'm checking out for eight
yep.
hours. You got me? All of those things are on autonomic,
Mm,
a process that does not require our conscious regulating. And so,
mm.
if that's true, if we live in this abundance of our body is doing all of this for us, can we not look at any given moment in our lives and just appreciate that there's already happiness, there's already joy, we're already successful right
Mm.
here in this moment?
I love that. You know, Dr. Naeema has been talking to us about living in the moment, being in the present. They say the present is a present, it's a gift, right? You talked about the fact that, we have all these wonderful things that are happening within our bodies. We don't have to say, hey, time out, I'm going to sleep for 8 hours. I love that illustration right there. It just naturally happens. How can we stop and appreciate the present, what we have right now, the ability to inhale, exhale? As you were talking here on Transformation Station, we like to take some moments where we can reflect on what we're talking about. And, I was thinking about this. We've been taught that if you achieve more, earn more, or prove enough, that happiness will naturally follow. But that formula is backwards. And Dr. Naeema has been talking to us about that. Like that's not the formula as leaders that we should be following, because from a leadership principle perspective, this belief that success equates happiness distorts our journey when it turns leadership into performance instead of service. And I thought about this when you were talking about living in the present, enjoying and appreciate when we live in the present, enjoy the present, we have more of a service mindset. How can I serve others? How can I be available to impact others? Who can I journey with and move on the journey towards, as opposed to right now, get this done right here, instead of being results focused? It's interesting, because the best leaders learn that real happiness doesn't come from being celebrated; it comes from being centered. And Dr. Naima, this right here is a mindset that we have to sometimes reset, because society teaches us that we are to be celebrated. You've got to get that result so people know your name. So people will write a magazine article about you. So you'll have 10,000 likes on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. You got to be celebrated. But man, quality of life comes from being centered. And as a result of being centered, then it puts you in the realm of opportunity. So, Dr. Naima, you've said that reinvention isn't about changing everything, it's about coming home to yourself. What does that actually look like in practice, especially for high driven leaders?
Mm. This idea that anything that we are seeking is somehow outside of us, I think is a fallacy in the inception. This idea that we are somehow in the future or in the past, I believe drives us away from this moment that we're in. Everything it starts from the inside. One of the principles in chiropractic is health happens from above down, inside out. What does that mean? Your brain communicates to your body through the nervous system. That is encapsulated in your spinal cord, right? Protected by all of our spinal bones, and our brain is protected by our skull. So you think about the way that our bodies express health is to the degree that our brain can communicate with our bodies, right? Through the spinal cord. If there's any misalignments in those bones, then it's putting pressure on nerves, and then the brain can't communicate with the body in a way that allows us to be fully optimal. Everything happens from an inside out. We were all born. We all have experiences that we're here to have. We also have this beautiful thing called purpose. And in
Mm,
our purpose and how it is that we show up and serve for
mm,
others, to the degree that you think that somehow all of that is on the outside, is, I think, a misconception. We don't
mm,
get health from the outside. You're not going to take a pill and it's going to make you healthy. What you
mm,
can maybe do is mitigate some symptomology that you have, but
mm,
health happens from the inside out. So if
mm.
health happens from the inside out, isn't it possible that we too, in our beingness, in our abundance and prosperity, of this belief of how we serve, how we lead,
Yes,
how we lead ourselves in our
yes.
lives, doesn't that also come from the inside out? Do
Mm,
people not connect to us and are magnetized towards us because our heart centers connect? Once
mm,
again, it's from the inside out. And
mm,
so I believe that if we turn that around and we
mhm,
know and embrace and embody, it is far more than what we think, right?
mm,
It's far more than what we believe, right? Because a collection of beliefs is your mindset, but I think it is well beyond that. The knowingness is what transcends beliefs. When
mhm,
you know and are centered and are grounded in your beingness and who you are being in the world, I
mhm,
think that at that point, that's when we know that that is the true definition, in my opinion, in the way that it works in my life. That
mm.
is success, and that is reinvention, and that is how we interact, and who we get the privilege of doing this dance on this spin around the globe.
So listen, I know that I'm not the only one that's listening to you like, okay, this is good. And they're having this same question that I'm about to ask you, right? So you talked about being a chiropractor. You walked away from a thriving chiropractic practice to start over. What was the moment that made you say, I can't do this anymore? And how did you know that it was time to reinvent?
Mm, I'm gonna have a bit of a hard head. I always think that God should just send me a text message and I'd get the memo. And it doesn't work that way. I think that oftentimes the more ambitious, the more driven you are, the more focused, the more hard-headed that you are, your messages come, they need to come in a much louder form. And so for me, I was quietly inside, knowing that I had outgrown where I was at. The season that I was in needed to change. The only thing that I knew was being a practice owner. The only thing I knew was being an employer. The only thing I knew was having patience. The only thing I knew was being a mom to my children. And as all of those things were changing, and my children had moved out, and, my practice was really just, it was probably the most successful that it could be as it was, but something needed to change. Only my heart wasn't in it anymore. Like the expansion there wasn't what was calling me, but I was being a little hard-headed. So God had to step in. And when I crashed on my bike, and that sent me through a whole series of devastating mind shifts, right? Like all of everything that I was believing to be true was really quite limited. And I didn't appreciate how expansive that life could be, because I knew everything in this box and all of that was certain. And God had to speak really, really loud to me. And the moment came probably about 2 months after my surgery, after the accident, when I was laying in bed and feeling so overwhelmed and burdened by what am I going to do, and feeling the sense of loss. And I was clinging to everything so tightly. And then this question popped in my head, and it was just around possibility. Like, what's possible now? And that changed everything. And all it was a question, and nothing external changed in the moment. I was still laying in the bed. I was still recovering from surgery. I still had a practice now that had all kinds of stressors, because the truth is that when you are a chiropractor and you're a small business owner, like, you are your business. And if I'm not there because I'm sick, then my business is sick. And then how do you continue to grow and thrive in that environment? And so the feeling of being oppressed by all of these daunting thoughts all started to fade to the background in that moment, to give space to this one question. And then I could begin to start unraveling all that I had put on my titles and identities and labels, so that I could start the exploration. So I believe that for all of your listeners, the one true thing that I hope that you walk away from this conversation with is just the question. That's all you got to do. Ask yourself just a more empowering question. Not why me, what's possible now?
What's possible now? I love that. And so we're going to pause right there. Transformation Station community, this is our moment of reflection. What is possible now? We're talking about being in the present. Be in the present with what is true about your current situation, and ask, what is possible now? I love that. So, Dr. Naeema, what role does identity play in our sense of emptiness? Why do we feel trapped by the version of ourselves that others expect us to be?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that oftentimes we project. We
Mm,
project about onto others what they're thinking about us, right? And the
mhm,
truth is that Miguel Ruiz, in his book, The Four Agreements, had said it already. And probably so many other thought leaders had been saying this time and time again. Your idea about what's happening outside of yourself truly, A, is none of your business, and most likely you are absolutely wrong. So I think that just starting from this idea about what others are thinking of you is far less important and critical than what you are thinking of yourself. And then for me, in my belief system, it's what God's thinking about me. What's God's vision of me? And so for me, that is critical, that I center myself and align myself with the vision that I believe that God has for my life. And how can I serve from that centered place of being grounded? And
mm,
so when Michael Ruiz in his Four Agreements talked about take nothing personal, because it's
Mm,
not your business. Whatever
mm,
somebody else is thinking, whatever their opinion is about you, even those who love you dearly, not your business. Your
mhm,
business is to be about the gifts that you have, because the way that I see it, the world has nothing for us, but
mm,
we have everything for the world. We have
mm,
gifts that we have been blessed with, and it is our
mm.
job, our responsibility to take those gifts from inside our heart and
Yeah.
deliver them to the world. Because to the degree that you do not, Les Brown said it countless times, the
Mm,
richest place in any city is the
mhm.
graveyard, because
First.
that's where all of the people went when they passed and all of their dreams were still inside them. So
Mm,
if you know that you have something on your heart and you know that you have gifts and blessings, as we all do, does it really matter somebody
mm,
else's expectations? Because weren't you called? Don't you have a calling on your life? Aren't
mm,
you beckoned to give the thing that's still quite that voice that's still so quiet? Aren't
mm,
you being beckoned forward to deliver that gift? And
mhm.
for me, the truth is, of course you are. So go
Yes.
deliver the gift.
Yes, yes. Go deliver the gift, leaders. Listen, we are receiving a charge right now. I know for a fact that I am feeling inspired in this moment. And leaders, we want to ask ourselves this question. True leaders do the inner work. That's what Dr. Naeema has been talking to us about, right? And we ask, who am I when the titles fall away? We spend so much time being and becoming, and we stop living and learning and enjoying, right? But we want to take time to do the hard work. Ask ourselves, what are the opportunities, as Dr. Naeema talked to us about? What are the opportunities that are literally right around us right now? When we talk about best practice, emptiness comes from living out of alignment. When the life we're living no longer matches the life we long for. And as Dr. Naeema, as you were talking, I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, so many of us are living outside of our calling, but we have a yearning, a desire. And maybe leaders, you're leading in an organization that really does not match what your calling is, but you still have opportunity to live within your giftedness, to operate within that space, to be present in the present. And we want to take some time to assess, but also invite ourselves to commit. We feel empty when we trade authenticity for approval. Yet we feel alive again when we give ourselves permission to be who we actually are. And in this space right now, as we're having this conversation, Dr. Naeema and I give you permission to be who you actually are. And the permission doesn't come from us. We invite you to give yourself permission to be who you are. So, Dr. Naeema, you made a major pivot from doctor to speaker, author, coach. This is really important. What mindset shifts? You started talking about it earlier, but let's really dig in. What mindset shifts were necessary to fully own this new identity? And what held you back at first?
Hmm. This idea around looking outwards, right? Yes, that our eyes face outwards and we are exposed to so many brilliant souls that we are doing this dance with. And yet, our own unique giftings, our own unique blessings, the gifts that we have to deliver the world that can only be delivered in the way that we can bring. They are as unique as our fingerprints. And so when you imagine that you are looking outward instead of inward, then you start pausing, you start hesitating, you start doubting. And that certainly was true for me. And so here I am in this quandary of, I know what's calling and what's beckoning me forward, but I don't have any certainty around it. I got certainty around the thing at the box that I spoke about earlier. I know those things. And so venturing out and doing the unknown was huge. And also, I have been doing it my whole life. The truth is that growing up as the only brown skinned person in your family, the only chocolate drop, and not knowing who it is that you are because everybody around you is in denial and is lying about that. Like, you are constantly in a state of reinvention. Like, who are you and how do you be and how do you operate? And so when I finally started really putting those pieces together and recognizing that this is just one more opportunity. And I had gotten really, really good at doing hard shit well. And I think as lives, the more that we lead, the more that we stand up, the more that we raise our hands and say, yes, I will do a thing, then we're going to get that equal and opposing energy. It's going to come back to us, right? It's going to challenge us a bit. And that was that moment for me where life started pushing back. And when life started pushing back, I was feeling cowering and looking outside and thinking, oh, everybody else is so much more talented and gifted. And who am I? And then I remembered, who am I not? Right? What can I not do? Because here's the truth. There is nothing, not one of us, that is beyond us. There's nothing that we cannot do. There is nothing that we cannot have. There is nothing that we cannot be. But belief and understanding and the confidence to walk in it, even when you were uncertain.
Yes.
I believe that that is the true key. Anybody that we admire, it's because they walked into it, walked in it, and walked into it before they ever truly believed it.
Wow. This is really powerful. I just want to take my time as we continue this conversation because you have shared a lot that I believe that we all need to just stop, pause, reflect on. We're talking about making powerful mindset shifts. And from a best practice standpoint, the most powerful shift that we can make is moving from urgency to presence. Who am I becoming? What is true for me? What will cause me to feel alive? You know, Dr. Naeema, when we're talking about being in leadership and leading, so many times we lose ourselves in our roles, right? Being this leader, but we forget who we ultimately are. And to every leader right now that's listening and watching, and you're listening to this and you're saying, yeah, that's me. I've lost who I am. You feeling an itch, an urge to reinvent. Dr. Naeema literally talked to you about her journey and has been giving us the building blocks on how to move forward with this reinvention. Stop asking, how do I get back to who I was? And start asking, what do I need right now in this moment to feel more alive? Because renewal almost never starts with something big. It starts with something true. And it's time for us to be true to ourselves. So Dr. Neema, as we turn the corner here, for every leader who is listening, who right now feels lost, who feels stuck, who feels tired of starting over, what's one or maybe even two? What are some small shifts that he or she can make today to begin rising again?
I think that I'm a nature girl. I love being outside. And the thing that I am reminded of is another Buddhist philosophy. Everything that is born also dies. Every one of our cells in our body, all 7 trillion of them that somebody counted, are all going to die. We are in any given second new. We are different. We are not the same person. When I go out on my hikes in nature and there's a river nearby where I live, Every time that I glance at that river, no matter if I looked at it and I keep staring, or I look at it and I look away and I look back, that river is different. It is not the same river. The water that I first saw has already passed. The cells that made up your liver, your spleen, your bones, your brain are all being born, and they are also dying. And then they are being born and they are dying. Everything that exists always renews itself. So when you think about, like, how is it that I can reinvent when I feel daunted, when life is life, and when it feels overwhelming, when maybe I've got some bad news or some stuff that I just didn't want to happen, and oh my God, I'm feeling guilty and I'm judging myself and I shoulda, woulda, coulda, and you start shooting on yourself.
Mhm.
I think that this idea of remembering, right? Because we already know. So if you remember that you are a being of creation, that you are being renewed every single moment of your life, that everything is unfolding for your greatest good. Nothing is by coincidence. There are no coincidences. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Everything that has brought you to this moment was purposeful. And so you don't have to become this radically new person. The
Mhm.
small shift that you can do, even as a human being, is to remember that your everyday practices, the things that you do, your rituals that you do on a daily basis to remind yourself of who it is that you are, so that you can show up as a
Mhm.
being and not a doing,
Mhm.
then I think you're on the best possible track.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that 1000%. For me, my faith grounds me. And when I look at the reinvention, one, calling myself to, as we mentioned before, what is true? What is true? So many times we get distracted by our problems, by the issues, the circumstances, and they distract us from really seeing what's true, because now we're starting to operate off of feeling as opposed to the facts. And so I stopped to ask myself, what is true? And then I ground myself in taking time to pause. There's something about the pause as opposed to rushing. Pause. I find that many times when I pause, some of the situations and challenges, they end up taking care of themselves. I end up being able to gain wisdom by just stopping and thinking. And then my faith grounds me, tapping into that sense of what is greater than I, that it gives me that sense of fulfillment as I move towards my calling every day. And I want to remind all of our leaders, the shift comes when you stop seeing your struggle as a setback and start seeing it as a sacred preparation. Leaders, how can you in your workplace, as you're moving forward, as you're dealing with the feelings of feeling empty, it is lonely being at the top. Not everybody understands your journey, nor should they, for this particular season that you're in. But when we start being able to see the challenges of the job, the challenges of leading people, the challenges of not having all the answers, the challenges of the finances and meeting the mission, not as setbacks, but as a sacred preparation, a preparation for tomorrow, a preparation for what is next, a preparation for whatever journey we are blessed to be on. That changes our mindset, because we don't have to climb the whole mountain today. And I personally, Dr. Naeema, have to remind myself of this. I don't have to climb the whole mountain today. I just have to turn my face towards the light, towards my faith, and take one step. And leaders, we want to invite you right now, one step at a time, one blessing at a time, one thoughtful moment at a time, one opportunity at a time. Dr. Naima, this has been so rich and so full. And I know that not only for myself, but for our listeners and viewers, we need to go back and watch this on the replay. We got to watch it again, because you shared so many gems that we just can't run through. We literally have to stop and take time and think and process and journal and write. Now, I know that there are listeners and viewers that want to engage with you. So I'm going to ask you two things. One, talk to our listeners and our viewers, what is one last word of encouragement that you would want to leave to our listeners and viewers here in Transformation Station Leadership Community? And then, two, afterward, for those who want to engage with you, please tell us how we can do that.
Hmm. So I'm going to give you it in the reverse order. You can absolutely find me on my website, drnaeema.com, and also IG probably is the best. Me and social media, we're in an interesting relationship, part of our relationship right now,
All right.
where I find that sometimes the inauthenticity is challenging when you are trying to show up really as the most authentic part of yourself. And so that can be a little challenging. But I got a lot going on the website and always happy to connect with folks. And this is what I will say as a last bit of wisdom that I have gained along the way. There are people right now that are waiting for the gifts that you have. And when you make it about yourself, and you center yourself, you are not remembering that you have a responsibility to those who are waiting for your gifts in the way that you can bring them, only in the way that you can deliver them. So the song, the video, the movie, the book, the art, the talk, the phone call, only in the way that you can deliver it. When you keep it inside, you're robbing the rest of us from the blessing. It's your responsibility to deliver your gifts. Don't make it about yourself. The rest of us are waiting. So go deliver it.
I love it. I love it. Transformation Station community, we love to support our guests. So I want to invite you. The website is on the screen. It will also be in the description box. I want to invite you to go ahead and engage with Dr. Naeema, tap into the resources. Also, let her know that you saw or you listened to this episode. Let her know what has resonated with you and ask questions because we are an always learning and growing community. Dr. Naeema, again, it's been wonderful to have you here with us on Transformation Station. Thank you so much.
An honor.
Thank you. All right. Well, listen, I think that this conversation is such an important reminder that leadership isn't about never running out of energy. It's about knowing when to pause, refill, and lead from a place of authenticity, not exhaustion. If today's episode resonated with you, I want to invite you to take a moment and share it right now with a leader or a friend who might need to hear it. I also want to hear from you. What helps you stay grounded when you're leading on empty? Tag me or send a message with your reflections. Let's keep this conversation real and alive. And if you have not yet subscribed or followed Transformation Station, I want you to go ahead and do that right now so you never miss a Monday or a Wednesday episode that will help you to lead, live, and love with more intention. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your people, and keep on leading with heart.